Murder Drones is a show. Yeah, it definitely is. Early marketing of it suggested it was supposed to have multiple seasons, but at the end there was only 8 episodes. I think this shows very heavily in the episodes themselves. The plot moves along ridiculously fast, sets up so many things, and then resolves them in a disappointing or unnatural way. But what about the questions that still remain unsolved, and will likely forever be unsolved? That's where the topic of this video comes into play. The side antagonist that appeared and died in the same episode, Alice from Dead End. And also Bo. Alice herself doesn't seem that important on the surface. She appears and dies in the same episode, being a crazy cannibal drone alive in the cabin fever lab, scavenging her own species for parts and taking care of her freaky spider crab son. But she shares history with the main protagonist's mother. She even goes so far to outright mention her directly to Uzi in the show.
Though, ain't seen 02 since she left us to die.
However, even before she says this, she says something pretty interesting.
Dealt with witches for it.
She's dealt with witches before. Now, to our knowledge, Alice does not have possession of the Absolute Solver, despite the 2 characters she is directly tied to, Nori and Yeva. Why she doesn't directly bring up the Solver by name despite her affiliation with the test subjects is unclear. Combine this with her ID tag clearly showing that she was a test subject as well. And an entire episode later where we see Tessa look up the entire list of Solver-infected drones, when we go to Alice's ID number, her name isn't there. So you'd see this and then assume, oh, so Alice isn't a test subject at all, and she's just LARPing as someone else? Well, no. See, I tried looking this up to the best of my capabilities, and the only source I'm fucking seeing is Reddit, which is not a good sign. But basically, this is a mistake, made when they were finalizing the episode. However, I don't know if this is true or not because no one attached any images or videos from Glitchian directly stating this was true, which makes this character even more of a fucking mystery. Because if she's a test subject who was closely tied to Nori and Yeva, 2 Solver wielders, why would she not have the Solver, let alone know the name of it? Plus, the number 17 we see on the list, GIAM, is marked as corrupted, which what does corrupted even mean? Does it mean that they no longer have access to the Solver? Or does it mean that they're dead? The simple answer is actually neither. It means that they have the Solver in their system and it corrupted them. Because we can clearly see other drones on the list, it says that there's been no effect, and we can tell that this is true because there is another drone in this same episode that dies in this same episode who was a test subject like Alice, Nori, and Yeva. Amda, which is 029. She gets murdered by a sentinel, and she clearly didn't have any form of Solver powers, meaning she was one of the drones that had 0 effect happen when they were injected with the Solver. So we can assume Alice is another case of this, a drone that has the Solver but it had no effect on her. Except again, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, because 1, the ID number listed as hers is marked as corrupted. Combine that with the fact that she's linked directly to Yeva and Nori, 2 of the most important characters in the entire show. You don't just introduce an entire new mother character linked directly to the main protagonist's family and then kill her off in the same episode and forget she exists 1 episode later. Especially when you imply in the episode she debuts in that she has been single-handedly taking out armies of disassembler drones and has experience with fighting Solver wielders. You can't just gloss over that. Alice and her fucked up little kid have been dealing with these eldritch monsters for God knows how long, and they've been doing it seemingly with very little effort, without any special abilities of their own other than shit they stole from their victims. And with the important data stashed in the labs, along with casualties being caused by these 2 and the Sentinels, it makes you wonder why the hell the Solver didn't put a high priority on this place quicker than they did. And that begs the other question. If Alice and Bo have been destroying countless disassemblers, or at least scavenging their corpses from the Sentinels, how would they have not figured out by now who Sin is as well as what the Solver is? Because the way Alice speaks is as if she's never heard of the Solver and just keeps calling people with it witches. When she's talking about Nori to Uzi, she mentions that Uzi looks just like her, minus the yellow eyes.
You're a lot like her, I'll say. Except her yellow eyes.
Is Alice just leaving out information from Uzi
For the funny!
or does she genuinely not know how the solver's possession works? Because clearly this image would imply that Alice has met Nori before pre-possession. There's no way she wouldn't know what her eyes look like. Even ignoring somehow Alice's face should have regenerated from whatever the hell she did right here, she should have known by now that drones with golden eyes are possessed by the solver and are not the drones themselves. Therefore, she should have known by now that what Nori did was not Nori's fault. What comes across as interesting questions quickly turn into very obvious plot holes the second you look under the surface. Everything tied with this character feels like either a waste or an oversight. She should have the solver, but she doesn't. There's no explanation for where Bo came from. Her hatred for Nori, despite everything involved with the disassemblers and solvers, doesn't make any sense. Because even if she believes she was left behind willingly by Yeva and Nori, that would imply that she would have seen the massacre that Nori committed. How? The cameras? Because if it was the cameras, then shouldn't she have just assumed that Yeva and Nori died in the flash during the core collapse? How would she have even known that Yeva and Nori were sent to the surface because of the blast? Because Nori herself says that's exactly what happened.
Woke up on the surface, brain scrambled enough to have a kid, and the rest is dumb, stupid history.
Unless the drones themselves had a way to access their eyes like cameras, there's no way that Alice would have seen the two on the surface and thought, huh, guess they abandoned me, guess I'm gonna go crazy and start tearing apart my own kind.
For the funny!
Seriously, everything tied to this character either makes no sense or requires you to make a ton of assumptions about it that likely aren't true. And it genuinely makes me wonder if Liam just gave the characters to Glitch and didn't tell them the exact plan, resulting in a rushed mess that doesn't make any sense whatsoever even if you look into it. This is a show that heavily prides itself on its lore being told in the background or by Easter eggs. Yet when you look in the background for anything tied to Alice, the whole story just falls apart. And I think that's a damn shame because I think this character's pretty cool and deserved a lot better than what they got. Because setting up an antagonist that's directly against the protagonist's family can be a pretty cool trope if done right. But the problem is this show is very cluttered, and we would have had 4 total antagonists if this was the case. And fitting 4 antagonists into a show that's only 8 episodes long would be a pain in the ass to do. So it feels like they had to kill this character as soon as possible to prevent issues in the future. And it feels like if this show simply had more seasons, this wouldn't have been a problem. And hell, it would have helped the other antagonists too. Jay and Sin absolutely deserved more screen time. Jay's fate is uncertain after the show ends, and people keep confusing Sin and the Solver with each other. Doll's dead, and Alice is forgotten. Despite all the importance she poses, she's dead and gone, with unanswered questions left to boot. And with no way back, she's the one who broke the show. Thank y'all for listening to my funny little murder drones ramble. As much as I like to talk shit, I still love this show a lot. It got me through some tough times, and I'm really hoping that the problems that I do have with it get potentially solved by the graphic novel, because it hopefully will have scenes that weren't in the show, or small little fixes here and there, such as Jay's fate, Alice's ID, among other things. I don't know if I'd call this a theory video, it's more so a discussion or a rant. But if you like this kind of content, I may do more of it. Subscribe and find out. I'll be seeing you on the flip side.